A good friend of mine and noted bagpipe enthusiast Thomas once said, "Do you ever find that wherever you look in your house, there's just orcs? Under the sofa, in drawers, on shelves, behind the TV, in my pocket, in the washing machine. Orcs I just bought 30 years ago, they are everywhere." And yeah, that statement is not going to find itself like carved into a cenotaph or anything like that, but it is probably one of the most grounding and true statements that I've ever heard. Yeah, the little green bastards are absolutely everywhere. Starting for me, it was like a childhood enjoyment of kit bashing and an excuse to just stick things together without any logic or reason. Orcs are the low-tech, zero production value creative release that a lot of us do enjoy to this day. They're the miniature equivalent of like plugging in a 10-watt practice amp and letting rip on some power chords. It's technically awful, but it's also a lot of fun. So when Gasland's Mike, a man who I assume also has a house full of orcs, offered to come over with his new game, Space Gits, I flung the door open and started checking my washing machine filter for orcs that I could use. If you're not familiar with Gasland's Mike, then you probably know him by his first name, Gaslands, which is a post-apocalyptic vehicular combat game designed to make use of low-price Hot Wheels cars and do a lot of good old kit bashing. However, there is a new thing that has arrived. New thing. Space Gits is, bear with me, a dexterity-based orc drinking skirmish game. Is that right? A dexterity-based orc drinking skirmish miniatures war game. There we go. Okay. Of course, as soon as I found out that it was dexterity based, and Mike was showing me some of his smooth wrist action, I immediately pointed out to him that, you know, you have come into my house and introduced a dexterity based drinking game to a man with multiple sclerosis, and you're hoping he gives it a good review on YouTube. Not because I wanted to give him a hard time, but because I wanted to see whether he'd be amused by it and whether he'd laugh. And thankfully he did. At which point I knew we was on the same level, so I thought, okay, whatever this game is, I am happy to give it a try. So what do you need to play Space Gits? Well, the rulebook helps, obviously, but we'll talk about the colossal discount that I have scored for you guys later on this rulebook. You will need a non-specifically sized playing area. I like it. You'll need some sort of terrain. Cool, vague enough. You'll need a handful of bottle caps. Yep, can do. You may or may not want to introduce some bottled beer. A slack handful of non-specific dice. And of course, an orc gang. But Dave, I hear you say, what do I do if I don't have an orc gang?
I do not have a gang, so I might just roll one up randomly.
No, just roll one up. Just roll one up. Yeah, sure. Okay. Easy. Yeah, before we'd even played, this is kind of one of the things that won me over with this game, is the capacity to make a gang list in about 5 minutes, either on paper from the book or using the online app, and make an interpretation of the random orc parts that you roll together. It is something that I loved about Gorkamorka. It was the encouragement of ideation and just piss off and make something, kid. Like, here's your idea. Here is a comfortable framework. I don't know which order they go in. I think, yeah, it's comfortable framework. Here's your idea. Go and have fun within that paradigm, essentially. And that is what Space Gits encourages right off the bat. The top shagger slash big knob slash leader of my gang is a bull orc, which is like a bigger version of an orc. And he's got a massive riot cannon. And he's also, I rolled something that implies he has a metal lockbox hidden within his body for storing loot. Well, I suppose what's easier to make than an orc with a barrel for a body? Yeah, okay, that meets the brief, and that's easy. The rest of my team was a guy with a grabber that steals people's bottle caps, a guy with bionic legs, nice, and a squig. Now, I don't have any squigs, and there were none to hand, so I substituted my squigs for horror chickens. For Mike's gang, he managed to roll the incredible combination of a one-armed musician who had a banner on his back that was also a paid sponsorship. So he's actually, if this guy survives, he's going to get paid at the end for basically being a walking billboard with one arm. Quality stuff. And we did all this in about 40 minutes, just cutting stuff up, building, painting, shooting the shit. Health and Safety Frog obviously had to chip in and do Mike's banner because Mike was dropping the ball with that banner, so Hector had to step in there and sort that out. And with the weird shit that we have made, somehow we are ready to play a game.
Baby, give me something.
Come on down to the Tabletop Stronghold warehouse and emporium down here in sunny West Virginia. What's up, guys? Tony D here, back in action with the traction, and here to talk to you today about the Mag Case 2.0, baby. What is a Mag Case 2.0, you ask? The Mag Case 2.0 is the ultimate carry and display solution for your miniatures. With removable steel trays that can be placed at any height and all kinds of sizing options, whatever armor you got, you can pack it in there. Just look at how many guys you can fit in this thing. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 6. You get the idea. That's a lot of guys. And of course, guys, those steel trays ain't just for show. Oh no. Oh no. Oh. Each purchase of a Mag Case 2.0 comes with a selection of magnets to attach your little guy's bases to. Magnets! And most importantly, the Mag Case 2.0 can hold a 250-pound wizard. Wait, what? You got a clip of that? Now I hear what you're saying to me. Tony, I hear you say. Tony, this sounds like the greatest magnetized miniatures case that I've ever heard of. But I don't live anywhere near West Virginia. Well, you'll be pleased to know that the Tabletop Stronghold provides the international shipping to the USA, Canada, UK, Australia, New Zealand, and to most of the EU. It just keeps getting better, because right now, Tabletop Stronghold is running a Black Friday mega sale! With up to 40% off in December, selected lines on the website, including the Mag Cases and the tournament legal Warhammer terrain. So don't get a grip, get a strong hold of yourself, and check the links down below and visit our best friends over at the Tabletop Stronghold. Alright, bye now! Oh,
So I did mention earlier that Space Gits is built around dexterity mechanics. However, in many ways, it is a traditional skirmish experience. You have traditional movement by measurement, you have weapon ranges, and dice rolls for calculations. But all those mechanics have been... Fucking hell, fuck me, it's like my student house in here. But all those mechanics have been stripped back to their core functionality, so that we have this extra flourish of dexterity play. And by doing that, it makes things... Nothing is cluttered in this game. Everything is there for just function and enjoyment. Taking movement, for example, my orc rolls 3 dice to move, but his movement must directly correlate to where those dice land. He can take those directions in whichever order he wants, but he must always be moving toward a die by the distance indicated by the number on it. Roll to move is back, and I'm okay with that. If this game had pictures on dice, I would. Of course, when you factor in that your characters are drunk and rowdy and stupid and orcs and usually have one leg shorter than the other, this is a brilliant swerve on traditional movement. And shooting is done in basically a very similar fashion. Machine guns have 6 dice, laser rifles have 1 die, and you roll those die and hope that you can draw a line from your orc's gun through your enemy. If you do, the number on that dice goes against the table and it decides whether he takes big or small damage. I do very much enjoy that you do some very, very simple, quick maths. Like, even I can handle it in 2 seconds. 2 seconds of maths to get an answer, and the answer is either small or big. That's... Again, I think I'm basically an orc when it comes to this kind of stuff. And you might think it stops there, and well, unfortunately for the guy with MS in the room, it does not. See, every time your orc does something at the end of its turn, it takes a drink of whatever it's drinking. What happens when it takes a drink? Well, it gets harder to control, naturally. So a d6 is placed by its base, which must remain in base contact with the model at all times, or it falls over. And if the dice tower falls over, your orc falls over. And whenever an orc takes damage, your opponent hands you the dice to add to its stack. And there are no rules on the size of dice. This can lead to some overactive orcs getting unbelievably tall dice towers, and it becomes a matter of time before they pass out and need another orc to gently help them stand up. Not that you have too much time to think strategically about all this, because after 30 minutes of play, the police turn up. Yeah, the cops turn up and start, putting everyone in vans and closing all the fun down. And then you have a fun little roll at the start of every turn to see whether the game is going to end or not. So it does become a last-minute cash grab for bottle caps. And if this game wasn't ridiculous enough, once the game is done, your orcs even have to fill out paperwork for the crimes that they committed in the game, yeah. Now, a lot of people talk about like the Frostgrave post-game stuff. People talk about the Necromunda post-game stuff. If you can end a skirmish game with petty bureaucracy and paperwork, again, +1 popcorn for this. And speaking of that last-minute cash grab, if you were wondering what those bottle caps were all about, well, at the start of the game, you literally throw a handful onto the pitch at the start, and this acts as your currency to collect. And if they hit the deck, well, they're lost. Any dice that roll off the table because it's dexterity based, that dice is gone. That's lost. I mean, you can put it back in your pile, but like, it doesn't count. Floor dice don't count. And that does tie all the way back around to where these bottled beers come in. Well, any beer that you finish during the course of a game, you get to throw the cap into the game as an extra piece of currency. This has been, without doubt, the most amount of double takes that I've had to do when talking to camera whilst getting prompts off a script. Because this game, when I read it out loud, this game is complete nonsense in the best way possible. And annoyingly, it really works and it's really fun. I think because it condenses traditional skirmish mechanics, then compounds them with the dexterity-based stuff. On top of that, you've got a nice little quick-fire creativity thing at the start if you want to do that. Everything is just stress-free. It's not effortless, but it's kind of like there is no emphasis on list building. There is no real impetus to win. It's just a fuck about, and that is a lot of fun. I've really got into my skirmish games over the last 3 years, and there are some silly ones, there are some serious ones, there are some more casual ones, there's some beer and pretzels ones. This one it's definitely going to be up there with the stuff that I keep coming back to, and just popping out. Like, you can play this faster than you can play most board games these days, and given how most board game rules are written these days, this is easier to understand. Yeah, so it's like, it's just do stuff, roll some dice, some stuff might happen, some things might fall over, you can beat each other up. And in all that, I forgot to mention how melee combat works. Yeah, put your dice in the bin for a hot second, because this is how melee combat works in Space Gits. Okay, so you have a very standard game of rock, paper, scissors every time two orcs want to thump each other. Well, technically not thump each other, because thump is one of the things you can do. That's thump, that's shove, that's pinch. So thump is countered by shove, shove is countered by pinch, which is when you steal bottle caps off your opponent from their main pool, and pinch is countered by thump. Yeah, it's wild. None of this should work, but somehow it all works, and it is a lot of fun. So yeah. Will I play it again? Yes. Will I make more orcs? Absolutely. Is that going to be a problem? Yeah, I think I'm going to be drowning in orcs if I keep playing this, but that's fine. Okay, so assuming you are interested in playing Space Gits. Well, Gasland's Mike has very kindly, after being plied with curry, agreed to an 80% off promo code for the digital version of the rulebook. So the Lawnmower Man version of this is now £5. Along with that, there is also a completely free-to-use gang builder app. So you can build your gang on your phone, laptop, whatever, and all the mechanics, I think they're all basically, they're calculated under the bonnet for you. However, this code is going to be an MS Paint's Patreon exclusive. I mean, it's still going to be very cheap. So rule set, £5, Patreon, £3. Join the Patreon, get the code. No pressure to hang around. I don't mind. That's all good. If you just want the book, that's completely fine with me. Stick around if you want though, because it is Christmas coming up, and my wife has a very expensive taste in Pokemon cards. So just saying. I also have a physical copy of the book to give away as part of a fun Git bashing challenge that we'll be hosting on our Discord. All you have to do is go to the Gang Builder app and roll up a completely random orc. Then you build it, then you paint it, and the most ridiculous looking orc will get this book. They're not signed or anything. I can get Health and Safety Frog to sign them if you want. He didn't work on the game, but he is green. But I will be getting Health and Safety Frog to put his artistic talents to work, and he's going to draw a portrait for you to keep, provided you win, of your orc. So that's a nice little bonus, and I'll put him to work. He'll earn his Yu-Gi-Oh cards this month by doing that. I think that's the first time in like 5 years I've actually told people to come and join my Patreon, and that was hard work. Thank you to Gasland's Mike for coming over and introducing us to this green-skinned carnage that is Space Gits. And also thank you to this video's sponsor, Tabletop Stronghold. Make sure you check out their Black Friday sale. And thank you to my wonderful Patreon community for pretty much, I'm not gonna lie, keeping the heating on this winter. Cheers, you gits. I'm out of here.